Welcome back to the POD cast. We are back, the Pride of Detroit podcast for all your Detroit Lions needs associated with prideofdetroit.com, your SB Nation blogs for all your Detroit Lions news, analysis, videos, whatever you want. We got it. My name's Jeremy Reisman. I'm the managing editor of Pride of Detroit. I'm the interim coach of this POD cast, and this week we got a very special episode. We're going to be talking some NFC North. We're going to be talking some Minnesota Vikings. We got a very special guest for that this week. But before we get into that, I need to introduce my co-host because he's back. He's back from some interesting adventures, let's just call him. He'll talk about it a little bit. But Ryan Matthews, the rock god, at Ryan_POD is back. Ryan, I can't see you here on Twitch, but I'm very, very happy to hear from you. How you doing, bud?
You don't want to see me, but you do want to hear me. I'm back, and I'm happy to be back. I can't believe that I'm here, to be honest. Like, not even just here on a podcast, but, like, on this earth.
Yes. If you don't know, Ryan went through a bit of a life-harrowing experience. It was a scary couple weeks for him. There was a reason why he wasn't on the podcast last week. I didn't want to go into it because I wanted to make sure everything was okay. Ryan, do you want to go into a little bit of detail about what happened here and why you are thankful to be here today?
Yeah, for sure. I can count my blessings real quick.
Yeah.
I will say that I did watch the last podcast live from my hospital bed.
Yep.
That was an interesting and unique experience, but I was involved in an auto accident that left me looking like Alex Smith because I had compound fractures to both my tibia and fibula. Today was the first time that I heard a recorded statement from one of the witnesses who was on the scene. And he said that when he came up to my car, he could see my bones through my skin. And he asked me how I was feeling. And I don't remember any of this, but apparently I told him my leg really hurts.
Yikes.
And I asked him if he could help me get out of the car. And he said, I'm going to wait until the ambulance gets here. So probably a smooth move on his part. But
Good Samaritan.
Yeah, good Samaritan. But the good news is I had a group of awesome orthopedic surgeons who were able to do a couple of surgeries that were able to save my legs so I can wiggle all my little piggies and I can podcast. So
perfect. And hopefully I'll have you walk in, if not by the end of the year, sometime early next year.
Yeah, my goal is that I want to be ice skating by December.
Hell yeah. That's an amazing goal. I love it.
Yeah.
Well,
so
like I said,
we're gonna try to make that happen.
We're very happy that you're here. I know the people here in chat are happy that you're here. I'm happy that you're here, and I'm sure our guest is here. Guest here is also happy that you're here, and I don't want to leave him hanging too long because, as I mentioned, we are doing kind of a Vikings recap. We did a Packers recap a couple months ago, then we got sidetracked by Listcast. So now we're moving on to another NFC North team, the Vikings, and to help us with that, we got Arif Hasan over from The Athletic here with us. Arif, thank you for being so patient with that intro. How you doing, bud?
Any answer I give would seem like kind of pathetic in comparison. I'm doing fantastic, relatively speaking. Wow. I'm also glad to be, maybe not as glad as other people are to be here, but, given the recent return to perspective. But I'm doing really well. I'm happy to be on the podcast.
Well, yeah, thanks again for joining us. If you don't know, Arif has some great stuff over at The Athletic. He's been on this show before. He's been on our Football Fights podcast before. Very respected mind in Vikings country. And so we brought him on to talk about a very interesting offseason from Minnesota. And let's just start in free agency. I have a list of key losses and key additions. And the list of key losses about 3 times as long as the key additions. And maybe you see it differently, but it seems like the Vikings lost quite a bit of talent. We're talking Stephon Diggs was traded, Josh Klein, the right guard, gone, Linval Joseph, Everson Griffin, Xavier Rhodes, Trey Waynes. Basically their entire secondary is all gone. I guess my first reaction is, why? Like, what happened here? Why is everyone gone? And is it okay?
Why? Yeah, no, I fully expect to log on and argue that Tajay Sharp is a better acquisition than Stephon Diggs is a loss in the Vikings net gain to the receiving department. No, it's different reasons for every kind of player, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Xavier Rhodes, enormous cap hit, wasn't playing all that well for the past year and a half, honestly. And so there was no way that they could keep him on at that salary. Trey Waynes was playing really well, too well for the Vikings to be able to pay them because of cap constraints. So related but unrelated reasons for them. Mackenzie Alexander, I think his relationship soured with the team. Andrew Sandeo is a backup safety. They don't really need him. Everson Griffin kind of fell off in terms of production in the second half of the year. So you take a look at his like aggregate season long statistics, looks really good. You take a look at the second half of the year, it doesn't look so great. And I just think they didn't agree on what an appropriate number for him and the team would look like. Stephon Diggs kind of, I'm not going to say forced his way out, but kind of strongly encouraged his way out.
Sure.
Yeah, and some other things like Linval Joseph had fallen off a little bit, and so that was kind of a contract issue. I'm sure they would have liked to have him, but the Chargers were willing to pay a little bit more. And then Josh Klein, I thought he played actually pretty well last year, but it's pretty clear that he's also like not a quote unquote system fit for what they do. Mm-hmm. So a bunch of reasons, right? that I'm sure all of them could be solved if everybody was kind of financially happy with what the Vikings could do, including the Vikings. But for the most part, they're all completely different. The real problem is that that key additions list looks pretty tiny.
Yeah. And let's go through them. So defensive tackle Micah Pierce was definitely the biggest signing there. But then you've got Anthony Zettel, which I think Lions fans probably know, and the aforementioned Tajay Sharp. Okay.
Yeah, I'm super curious about what y'all's Anthony Zettel take is. I mean, I really liked him as a prospect. Obviously, he didn't pan out, but I was taking a look at, what was it, 2017 he started for the Lions? Mm-hmm. That wasn't so bad. That was actually kind of nice. So
yeah, he makes for kind of an interesting story. I mean, the most significant thing about him was basically he won himself a roster spot in back-to-back years in the fourth preseason game, and then eventually, got himself a starting job when Ansah was going through all of his injury stuff. I don't know.
I was taking a look at the 2017 stuff.
Yeah,
it looked all right. Like,
yeah,
it didn't. I mean, if I were a team, I wouldn't take a look at that and say, "Gotta sign him to be a starter." But I also wouldn't be uncomfortable if he won a starting job in a healthy camp competition either.
True.
So,
and I'm just realizing now I'm mixing up Anthony Zettel with Kerry Hyder, and that I think that says everything about Anthony Zettel. No. So, whoops. Ryan, you got some questions about the Vikings offseason?
Well, I was going to jump ahead real quick to the name that the Lions were able to acquire from the Vikings, Jaron Kearse.
Sure.
And I mean, I know that's a loss for the Vikings and a gain for the Lions, and one of those interesting transactions in which happens in the NFC North. Just thank God it's not Jimmy Graham. I think you wanted the NFC North team that does not acquire Jimmy Graham, so we were able to Russian roulette our way out of that. But we have Jaron Kearse. How? I mean, what kind of loss is he a true loss for the Vikings? Like, do they have somebody to replace him because they also lost Sendejo? Like, are they just kind of overhauling their safety field or what?
I don't think any overhaul of the safety room is voluntary. I think it is a loss. Yeah, so Jaron Kearse is a player I really like. He is probably, if you've got a room of 5 starters in your secondary, there's probably not many players that as the 6th person in that room are better than Jaron Kearse. So I wouldn't be crazy comfortable starting him, but if he's your first backup in the secondary, and I say secondary because he didn't just play safety for the Vikings last year, he played nickel corner. He's 6'5". This is very difficult.
He's a big dude. Yeah.
Describe this player, but yeah, he was a really effective nickel corner. But yeah, and he's not particularly quick, but he knows how to make up for it because he's got arms the size of the planet. So he can just kind of get in the way of the ball, and it just kind of works out. So he's a pretty effective nickel corner. And then also obviously safety. You take a look at the size, you kind of assume strong safety. These tackling angles aren't always the best, and so you say, well, what about free safety? You can kind of break up some deep passes, but he doesn't necessarily have the speed. So really, it's just kind of one of those versatile. You can play him free, play him strong, and kind of just let him kind of go where it kind of works out for him. And I think that he's relatively effective. And I think the reason it didn't work out with the Vikings was because he felt, and this is speculation, this is not reporting, so I want to make that clear. But my understanding is that he felt a little put off by how the Vikings handled his DUI incident, and just in general, how he felt his role was being handled, because he is correct to assume that he'd actually been playing pretty well, and he felt he probably wasn't getting a ton of support from the coaching staff. So that's another. It's kind of like Mackenzie Alexander. It's another one where I'm sure the Vikings actually would have loved to keep him, but he didn't feel like the organization was the best fit for him. So I like him a lot. And I think that as a special teamer, it's difficult to find, a player that can do that and then also be kind of your sixth person in the secondary. So that is another loss for the Vikings. Honestly, I mean, I know the NFC North is the next segment, but like the way I want to characterize it is I don't know that any team in the NFC North got better, but the Vikings probably got the most worse in the offseason. It's a problem. They lost a ton of players. The only player that they added that would be an upgrade over what they had last season is Michael Pierce, who is only, probably an upgrade because he didn't play necessarily all that great last year at nose tackle. And he had to switch between three technique and nose tackle because the Ravens had these really two remarkable nose tackles. He was one of them. The other one's Brandon Williams. And having two nose tackles is like kind of not necessary. So they split one at three technique, and that was him. And it didn't really work out all that great for him, but he's had some really phenomenal years as a nose tackle. And so the Vikings kind of want to tap into that. But that's probably an upgrade. And then you've got they added some other players who, if they didn't make the roster, I mean, no one I think would be shocked. Like if Anthony Zettel and Tajay Sharp get cut, you're like, well, okay, they took a shot. Like it's not that big a deal,
right?
I mean, the Vikings lost a lot of players. Some of them are better names than they are players, like Xavier Rhodes. Some of them are better players than they are names, like Mackenzie Alexander, who I thought actually played in the nickel really, really well last year. But I mean, the fact of the matter is they're starting a bunch of new players at a bunch of positions. So the entire cornerback group, the or half of the defensive line, one receiver, and then probably two offensive linemen. They lost one, but I don't think they're particularly ecstatic about the prospect of starting Pat Elflein at guard either. So probably two new offensive linemen as well. So a ton of roster turnover. And the thing is, the Vikings don't typically have a ton of turnover on defense. Since they shed a bunch of players in the 2014 transition to Mike Zimmer, they've kept 9 or 10 starters every single year. And so this is really kind of new territory for them.
Well, okay, that perfectly leads into my next question because, a couple months ago we had Matub on here talking about the Packers. He was really down on the Packers draft. Sounds like you're not exactly thrilled with the Vikings free agency period, at least. We'll get into the draft in a little bit, but all offseason I've had Lions fans just like telling me, telling everyone, telling anyone who will listen to them that the Vikings dynasty is over, and dynasty is used very loosely here. Their defensive dynasty is over.
From a Lions perspective, it would be a dynasty.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. They're saying hey, I'm going to let it slide. I'm going to let it slide. But
you're not wrong. It just hurts.
But Lions, what you get for knocking me down on that debate episode.
But Lions fans are saying there's all this defensive turnover. The defense, which has been the identity of this team since Zimmer came in and probably even before then, is crumbled. You said it yourself that they haven't had this much defensive turnover. So now you have the ear of thousands of Lions fans. Please tell them they're all exactly right.
They're probably right.
Oh, okay.
I don't like predicting the future with certainty. The thing is, so I'll say this about the Vikings, and we're going to get to the draft class in a second. They have the highest probability of getting worse based off of their performance last year and the players that they've lost versus the players that they've gained. But there's so much room for uncertainty because it's like a huge draft class that there's also a distinct possibility that they could get better, and they've got more room to get better. I think just because of all of the uncertainty they've added, because uncertainty goes both ways, right? Because it's likely, because most of these guys are rookies, that they're just not going to be as good as the players that they replace. So that's the most probable outcome. But there certainly is a lot of room for that to not be the case, especially because losing Xavier Rhodes is not that big a deal. Trey Waynes was probably overpaid. It'd be nice to have him, but Holton Hill, if you take a look at his numbers based off of the total number of snaps that he played, and he's probably going to start, he actually outperformed Trey Waynes on an actually fairly good sample size over the past couple of years, like in yards per snap allowed and stuff like that. And so you can argue your way into saying, hey, Jeff Gladney, he's pro ready right away. Hey, Justin Jefferson, he's pro ready right away. Came out of a pro style system, etc. You can argue your way into saying they're better, but you have to make the argument, which is why it's always not that compelling. They probably got worse, but it would not astound me. It would probably surprise me a little bit, but it wouldn't astound me if they got better, because there's just so much uncertainty with a large swath of the team, and uncertainty typically points in a negative direction if you played well, which the Vikings did for the most part, and it points in a positive direction if you played poorly. But there's still that room in the other direction when you've got all these unknowns to work with. So I'll say that Lions fans are probably right, or the Lions fans that are making this claim are probably right. The Vikings were 5th or 6th last year in points allowed, which was a better ranking than I had realized, just because, the 2017, they were the number 1 defense. So taking a look at the 2019 defense, you're like, wow, this is not that great. But they were 6th in points allowed. The evidence suggests that the defensive performance tracks best with defensive coordinator, which in this case would be just Mike Zimmer.
Right.
And so, that's the same. So there's probably going to be some level of quality there that they're not going to dip below. And so they could be a top half defense, but I would be shocked if they were a top 5 defense again. And they were basically a top 5 defense for 3 years running. I don't think they're that.
I'm going to hold your feet to the fire a little bit. Top 10 this year?
That's the tough part. If they are top 10, my estimation would be like 10th or 9th, right? But the evidence for when defenses are stable, it being the product of the mind behind the defense, is so strong. I mean, like, take a look at the Bears defense, right? They lost their defensive coordinator, replaced him with a fairly good one too. But it's just not the same. Right. And the defense fell off in a big way, despite the enormous amount of talent that the Bears have. And this happens again and again and again. I think the only other exception is like Seattle, where they switch defensive coordinators constantly. And the defense was pretty good for a while. But most of the time when defense coordinators leave, that's it, kind of regardless of the talent. And this time the Vikings have it. So I'll say there's a really good likelihood that they're in the top half. And I would say because of that, there's a pretty good likelihood that they're top 10. But I would estimate like 9, 10, or 11, and I'll just be a little bit wrong or something like that.
And if I'm using your logic correctly, the Lions have a new defensive coordinator this year, so that means they're going to have a good defense. I agree. Cool. Ryan, you want to say something?
I mean, they'll get better. I'll say that.
Hold on. I was going to take a pot shot at ourselves, too. I was going to say, and the only other exception to that rule is the New England Patriots. When they give up their defensive coordinator, they have a great defense, and he goes on to Detroit and just sad trumpet noises.
That's the only thing preventing me from calling my shot on the Lions this year, by the way. It's the Matt Patricia effect.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, you're not the only one.
This is
that
a
feels
Vikings podcast. Let's keep talking about the Vikings.
Yes.
Firm but fair. Firm but fair.
We've got 51 other weeks to be sad about the Lions, all right? Ryan, you want to jump into the draft a little bit?
Yeah. Arif, I want to do something kind of maybe not so fair to you. I was talking to Jeremy about this before you signed on to our call, but I was wondering, can you name all 15 players from the Vikings draft class?
I'm looking at the pic. I'm looking at the picture.
You're cheating. Oh, that's right. I put it in our outline. I'm an idiot.
I'll go ahead and guess the players I would have forgotten. How does that sound?
Sure.
My guess is I would have likely forgotten Harrison Hand, Josh Metellus. I don't know. He's from your neck of the woods.
Yeah, you guys have a couple of Michigan guys. Michigan and Michigan State.
Yeah, that's true. More excited about Kenny Willekes, honestly. And I probably would have forgotten Kyle Hinton. Decent chance I would have forgotten Brian Cole too, but that's about it. That's so I estimate that I get 11 out of 15.
Okay, I like that. Another maybe unfair question, and if you feel like this threatens your job, don't answer it. What's it like to cover an NFL draft with 15 picks? How much does it suck?
I am shocked at how much it sucks. I like going in, I would like if someone was like they're gonna draft 15 players, and they're all gonna be in like day 3, so you're just
Right.
not a chance you're gonna. And I would have been like, wow, that sounds really rough. That sucks. Wow, I have to write about all of them. Yeah, you do. Oh wow, I'm not prepared for that. And it turns out I'm not even prepared to be not prepared for that. It's mind-boggling. I don't know the stories of a lot of these players. I've become familiar with their game for the most part. So that's nice, but it took a long time, and my post-draft coverage was remarkably weak this year. I'll say that. So, yeah, that's. I don't even remember if I put out like a. So every year I do the consensus board.
Right.
There was so much stuff going on with the Vikings draft that I don't remember if I even put out the consensus board grades your draft piece, which is like one of my biggest hits every year. I probably should have done that.
I don't remember if you did or not, but I remember the consensus board.
So that's how the draft went for me.
Yeah.
Who knows what happened?
I'm sure those 3 days are now just like way back in your memory. You blacked out at some point during day 3 in which they made 11 picks, 11 of their 15, which is insane. But let's talk about this from a 2020 standpoint. Lions fans want to know, who do they have to worry about this year out of those 15 people?
Well, the first 3.
Sure.
It's first round pick, second round pick. So Justin Jefferson, LSU receiver. I'm sure Lions fans are at least kind of peripherally aware. I mean, he was on the national championship team and led the team in receptions, although the other guy was the Blitnikoff guy. So he benefited from having, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase there, and Joe Brady as an offensive coordinator there. But, first round talent. I thought that the Vikings were kind of lucky for him to get there. I thought Philadelphia will grab him. Turns out Philadelphia wants a track team, so that wasn't going to happen. But and will apparently go to great lengths to keep that track team intact. But
I like that reference.
No further comment there. But yeah, I mean, he was primarily a slot guy last year, but the year before he played on the outside, so we'll see kind of what he can do. But there's nothing but opportunity for him, which is to say that nobody really has a reasonable shot of grabbing the second receiver job besides him. So he's probably going to default in. But the other one is Jeff Gladney, who may not play right away. I mean, Zimmer corners just have this long history going all the way back to his early days in Cincinnati. And I think even Atlanta. I think you have to go back to Dallas to find a rookie corner who like started consistently. And so it's not something we see. I mean, like Trey Waynes and Drake Kirkpatrick and Darqueze Dennard and Mike Hughes, they don't start, but Gladney is in a position where he's probably going to start, but the Vikings do have options there. So he is kind of a shorter corner, and people kind of pigeonhole that to be the nickel. So their first round pick from 2 years ago, Mike Hughes, is the other guy that could potentially be a nickel guy. But those two are likely the starters, if not Holton Hill, who's an undrafted free agent out of Texas a couple of years ago. Probably second, third round talent, but likes weed too much, and so he fell out of the draft. And then got suspended for like 8 games in the NFL afterwards. But he's a good player. And as far as I know at the moment, he's not suspended, so he'll play. And so there's an opportunity that he starts and Gladney just plays kind of a rotational role. Then Ezra Cleveland, the Vikings have no choice but to play him. The real question is where. They didn't re-sign Josh Klein, as we noted, and Pat Elflein is probably not going to be a great option to start at guard. So they're probably going to promote a guard internally. I'm guessing Drew Samia from Oklahoma. And I think they drafted him last year. And they'll either move Riley Reif inside to play guard, which I think is probably the best option, or play Ezra Cleveland at guard, and then the other one goes to tackle. Ezra Cleveland is a super athletic tackle, more athletic than even Brian O'Neill, the other tackle that they have, not quite as athletic as say like a Lane Johnson, but like you can talk about him in those in that kind of category or stratosphere. Like Tristan Wirfs was more athletic than him, and that's about it. And so, super athlete, kind of raw, but pretty good production numbers, and I'm guessing he's going to play a tackle. And those are the guys that I expect to play. And then, like, the odds are just someone else is going to get a bunch of playing time. I mean, just like look at the number of people in this draft class. They've got open competition for slots at defensive end, so DJ Wanham or James Lynch. James Lynch. I thought there was a undrafted free agent from Baylor as well named Blake Lynch, so I had to make sure I got that right.
That's a half point off your 15.
No, I got it. It was James Lynch. I was right the first time. But DJ Wanham, South Carolina, James Lynch, Baylor, both of them play defensive line. And then obviously you've got Kenny Willekes from Michigan State. James Lynch is probably going to play defensive tackle in the NFL. And so they've got an open competition there. So opportunity for him, opportunity for Willekes or Wanham to compete with Fadio Denebo to play as the starting defensive end, opportunity for Cameron Dantzler to take one of those 3 cornerback jobs that's open. And those are your best options. But, I mean, anything could happen when you've got 15 players in the draft class. So I'm guessing someone will emerge and just happen to play a lot. But the first 3 are the ones that you can bet on, and then the field is just like whatever.
All right. Did you have a question there, Ryan?
Well, yeah, I was gonna, just because I'm a betting man and I like setting the over and unders.
Yes.
Arif, over or under 12 of these players making the roster.
How many players are the NFL going to let make a roster this year? There's so much. Like, are we going to have practice squads of 20? I don't know what's going to happen.
Let's just assume 50.
Like it's a normal season.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Let's live in our
man roster.
Yeah.
Practice squads of 10. Let's not count practice squad as making the roster. Out of the 50, God, the Vikings lost a lot of players, so there's a lot of room. They didn't bring in a ton of guys. So.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, are they going to keep these guys just by necessity because there were so many players that went out and there weren't so many players that came in?
Yeah, honestly, like I think that's going to be the case. And for the most part, I really like the draft class. I mean, some of these picks I didn't love for their value, like Cameron Dantzler, DJ Wanham, and they're like round 3-4, right? So it's not that big a deal if you don't like their value.
Yeah,
but for the most part, I like.
Right?
Yeah, but for the most part, I really like these picks. Some of these players I think have a ton of production, and personally I valued them higher than where they went. So, if I was going to take a look at the estimation of the class, I'd say, hey, there's a really good chance that a bunch of these guys make it. The benefit here is that we're pretty guaranteed that a bunch of them just can't make it because they're at the same position, right? Because you've got a couple of safeties, a couple of corners, and so on. So, I'm going to guess that. So what, the Vikings lost 8, gained 3, and then they're probably going to cut some people that made the roster last year as well because you have to.
You do, yeah.
Yeah. So 10, man, that's high. Wow, 10 players from a draft class. That's a high guess too, even out of 15. But yeah, I like 10.
You like 10? Okay.
All right.
That's a lot of players to keep from a draft class.
That is. Hey.
Yeah. Well, they lost 8 guys. Well, 9 guys if you count Jaron Curse, which isn't even on the list there. So true. Yeah, they lost a lot of guys.
All right. With that, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to get Arif's thoughts on the NFC North, including the Lions offseason. It'll be interesting to see what an outsider believes the Lions have done this year, because there's been a lot of differing opinions I've noticed outside the city of Detroit. So when we come back, we'll get that and much, much more coming up on the PODcast. All right, let me take a moment to catch up with chat here. A couple people wishing you well, Ryan. Did I hear Reef at guard?
What's up?
You did hear Reef at guard. Maybe. I'm not sure how sure Reef is about that. It sounded like
seems probable.
Probable? Interesting.
I would put it on the 70%.
So then you have Gladney, or not Gladney, Ezra starting at left tackle?
Who knows? It could be Gladney. Oh, yeah, Ezra at left tackle.
Hopefully not Gladney at left tackle. Well, from a Lions point of view,
the team likes to experiment.
Audible Dong asks, okay, legit guys, the season's not happening, right? Like, if we're being realistic. I go back and forth just about every day, but I'm currently in the I don't think it's going to happen phase.
Well, so the real question is, does it happen on schedule? Because if it doesn't I could see the NFL just being like, screw it, we're going to spring.
Yeah.
and they'll figure out a way to negotiate all those stadium contracts, right? So like whatever.
Right.
I go back and forth too, but the piece that was just published at theathletic.com.
Yep. I was going to write a piece on it today, and I got sidetracked.
They interviewed like 30 agents. God,
yeah,
a ton of agents.
Yeah.
And like 22 of them thought not only would the season start, but it was likely to start on time. And they were just like, they're billionaires. They don't care about like labor, but they do care about making money. So they'll start. And I was like, well, and that's cynical, but I get it.
Sounds about right.
If anyone's wondering what that article is, I just threw it in chat. You do have to have an Athletic subscription, but I'm sure there's a deal going on right now.
Yeah, if you click through the article, I'm pretty sure if you're not subscribed, there's a 30-day free trial.
There you go. I read through as much as I could. There was a lot of skimming involved because there's some interesting political beliefs in there, and I was just like, you know what? I don't really want to read what you have to say about Colin Kaepernick.
Diverse political beliefs.
Yeah.
The one guy that was like, I don't think Colin Kaepernick wants to play. And I was like, fine, whatever. And then he was like, he's got a greater purpose or something like that. I was like, oh, that's a good term. Okay, sure, fine, whatever.
Whoa. Wait a minute.
That's not how that talking point usually goes.
Yeah.
But it is a fascinating article, I thought. One little thing that I also found interesting, there's almost no mention of the Lions at all anywhere, except for in like the honorable mention of teams that had the worst offseason. There was one agent that thought the Lions had the worst offseason, and we got no explanation of why.
Well, my guess is if it's only one agent, then they probably just had a bad experience negotiating
right.
with the Lions,
or he didn't represent any Patriots players.
I did like the one agent that was like, the Patriots had the worst offseason, but I could be wrong. It's Bill Belichick.
Right.
Like, who knows?
Speaking of people talking about the season starting and how it would start, Dave Burkett, I don't know if that tweet was tongue-in-cheek or not about there being a bubble.
I don't think it was.
But a bubble for the NFL just seems so incredibly impossible when you're seeing all of the things that are already happening that are going wrong with the NBA bubble.
Right.
Like, they're already trying to sneak in women and food. Like, and it's been like, it's been like 72 hours. Yes, in that order.
On like 8-person rosters. Like, it was a 53
right.
roster.
Right.
And the support staff for NFL teams is high. Like, I always knew that the support staff was always larger than like what a lot of people would estimate, but it wasn't until I like walked into the Vikings facility that I realized just how enormous a support staff is for an NFL team. Like they've got their own convoys and stuff. It's ridiculous. They take up like an entire plane themselves. So I don't know how a bubble works. And like it'd be kind of cruel to enforce a bubble on like the janitor, right? It's just like,
right.
Well, now you can't go home. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think my favorite NBA thing was the Postmates one. I don't remember the player. Ryan, you probably know better than me. Just one player that's like, hey, everybody on Instagram, we can get Postmates. You got to go outside and get it, though. And then he immediately gets put in quarantine. He's like, oh, I guess I was wrong, guys.
So he tweeted out and he was like, like nobody at the front gate will hold it for you, so you have to go get it. And then it was a player from the Kings who went and did it, and then he had to be quarantined. And then Kelly Oubre tweeted out, he's like, oh, never mind.
So the guy who said you could do it wasn't even the one that got in trouble?
Correct.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that.
You like baited a player on another.
That makes it even
I don't think
better.
it was intentional, but that's phenomenal 4D chess.
So that brought up like a great point. I think like Woe brought it up, but he was like, how long until somebody baits LeBron out of the bubble? Just to get him quarantined for 10 days.
You can't. LeBron's bubble is a luxury bubble. Everyone else's bubble is second rate. How are you going to bait LeBron out of his bubble?
It's true.
LJ, thanks for the 8 months, buddy. Appreciate it. 5-month streak. Thanks for being one of the OGs on the stream. Appreciate it, bud. All right, you guys ready to get into segment 2 here?
Yeah, why not?
Yes.
I never get an enthusiastic response. What Arif just gave me was the most enthusiastic response I've ever been given from that question.
Usually it's me just going, I guess.
Yep. All right, give me a second of silence so we'll know where to cut, and we'll get back into it. And we are back with the POD cast with Arif Hasan from The Athletic Minnesota, talking about the Vikings, talking about the NFC North here in their second segment. And before we get into the full NFC North and maybe how you think things may play out, let's talk about the Lions offseason, because we've spent 4 months dissecting every inch of it. But I'd love to hear what an outsider view of the Lions offseason, because you kind of teased at the top. You said you didn't really think anyone in the NFC North made significant moves, and I assume that boils over to the Lions as well. So let me know what your overall thoughts are, maybe some good moves that you thought they made, some sketchy moves they made, or anything like that.
Yeah, well, so I already mentioned that I like Jaron Kearse.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, is Big V slated to start at right tackle?
He is. He will almost
Wagner's
certainly be the right tackle. Yep.
Okay, well then that's a bad move. Whoops. I was like, I really like him as a backup. He's a really high quality backup. Never mind. Yeah, I mean, okay. So I like Chase Daniel. I guess. I mean, mostly just because he eviscerated the Vikings by like popping off for 5 yards a pass. But he's like, it's good to have a guy like that in the locker room when like your other option is like Jeff Driscoll or whoever, right?
Right.
So, or whoever the Purdue gunslinger was, actually
David Blau, baby.
Yeah, I kind of liked him. But Collins, I can like. Danny Shelton, kind of overrated. Obviously, former Patriot, right? Collins, former Patriot. Ron Harmon, former Patriot. Des Trufant doesn't really likely have anything left in the tank, so I don't know about that. But yeah, it's just kind of like a flat off season, and then you compare it to kind of what they lost: Darius Slay, Snacks. I don't know. Is Ricky Wagner a loss? I always felt like he just never did the thing he was supposed to do.
I mean, it's a loss. According to you, it sounds like it's a loss if the guy you're filling him with is Halapuli Vaitai.
Okay, yeah. Relatively speaking, that's a loss. And then I don't know. How are we feeling about Sam Martin?
I'm refusing to talk extensively about punters on this podcast. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, cool. The best case for the Lions getting better is the fact that presumably Matthew Stafford's healthy, and obviously he had a really wonderful season last year. So the addition is like, in theory, 8 more games of Stafford, right?
Right.
And that turns the Lions offseason from like a C-, a D? I don't know, to like a C+, a B-. I don't know. It's tough, right? Because the Lions didn't make a move, right? Stafford just got healthier, right? So
yeah.
In terms of the way the Lions manage resources, not wonderful unless I guess I don't know how big the Jamie Collins deal is. If it's big, then maybe not great. But I can see the logic behind some of these moves. So to me, the Lions probably did the least to get worse. How's that sound?
Backhanded.
And everyone got more worse than the Lions did.
It sounds about right. Like, Arif, how I've been characterizing it, like all off season long, has just been the Lions got different. Because I mean,
let's get strange.
like they got different, but it was still the same tune, right? Like, they're still filling all their chairs with Patriots players, but they're like filling these they're filling these holes with players who maybe were playing a little bit less than what we had expected of them. Like, Slay's play dropped off a little bit. Snacks Harrison's play dropped off of a cliff. And then we just talked about Ricky Wagner, and you replaced them with Vaitai, Danny Shelton, and Desmond Trufant, respectively. And it's like, they got different. Like, they didn't get better. They just like replaced those players with players because they needed to, because they didn't have 15 draft picks.
Well, so that's right. So that's kind of why it feels flat, right? Because and I think that those players are all downgrades, even acknowledging that Slay and Snacks got worse, and then Wagner never lived up to his contract. Like, even acknowledging all of that, I think those players are still probably drop-offs, and then you probably better having Jamie Collins than like. Well, I'm not a Jelani Tavai guy, but Gerard Davis.
Yeah.
So that's good. Desmond Trufant's played really well in the past, so it's there, but I don't know that he's ever going to grab it. And then Deron Harmon has flashed. Man, this is really depressing sounding. I like the Jay Runker signing.
Oh, sweet.
Well,
Awesome.
then let's talk about the draft then. Maybe you feel a little bit better about the Lions draft. Obviously, Jeff Okudah coming in, going to be the next Slay, ideally for the Lions. You talk about drafting a running back really high. I don't know if you're part of the analytics crowd that hates that like myself. Maybe you aren't, and you can convince me that DeAndre Swift was a great pick. And then Julian Okwara, I think, is the other big one that Lions fans are very optimistic about. Do you have any major thoughts about those three picks?
I don't have like strong Julian Okwara takes. I mean, every time I saw him, I thought he was really good. So I didn't really understand kind of why he was rated where he was. I thought, but I didn't do a deep dive, right? So I'm not going to have any strong takes on him. But obviously Okudah, fantastic prospect. Really like that pick. I don't know that the Lions like screwed up any picks from a talent evaluation perspective. I think that we're probably right about this question regarding like running backs, but I'm like really into the way that the production metrics indicate that we should value running backs and stuff. I do think they should be valued maybe a little bit higher than what the nerds say, but like the second round pick is still too high, right? So like and the nerds say basically like don't pay them, just sign them free. I'm like, I would pay Dalvin Cook $6 million, and on a nerd scale, that's pretty high.
Yeah.
But in an NFL scale, that's really low, right? So that's kind of where I am. So the DeAndre Swift signing or draft, not great, but Jonah Jackson was somebody that I didn't really evaluate a ton because he just wasn't going to be a system fit for the Vikings. So I just kind of glossed over him. But I didn't think that he was necessarily all that great. Logan Stenberg, his thing is that he's like kind of a dick.
Yep.
Which is kind of fun, but he wasn't all that great at the Senior Bowl. And if it's worth talking about late round guys, I really like Quintus Cephas a lot.
Whoa.
I mean, he's a fifth round pick, right? So it just might never matter. But you know, I like him a lot. His like workout numbers are like abysmal, right? But but God, he looked good. He looked really good.
And I mean, the most interesting, I think he's the guy that Lions fans are most intrigued about that late round class is just, I mean, to have Jeff Okudah go out and say, you know, back at the combine, so this wasn't him, you know, just talking up a teammate. He said he was the best wide receiver he ever went against in college. That's crazy.
Oh, yeah, pair them together, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so
okay. Well, yeah. I mean, he's just like really good. I again am like a pretty strong believer in kind of the direction the data takes us, and so you know, his athletic testing is a big red flag.
Sure.
But for a fifth round pick, I don't really care that much. And I mean, what was it, like a 37, 38 inch vertical or something like that?
Yeah.
Pretty good. You know, if you've got a trump card trait, I'm going to be a little bit more understanding of like a pick like that, and he does. And I don't know, he just played really well. So that's the pick I like the most outside of like the obvious Okudah pick. Yeah, I guess, you know, take a look at a 67th pick. I don't know. Okwara is a guy that I liked based off of what I saw, but he's just not somebody I dug into too much. And so I would have expected him to go into like the late 40s, early 50s. So I guess I would call that a steal, but it's just not something I'm going to like kind of nail my takes to. Yeah, big mistake drafting a running back, big benefit drafting a cornerback that high, that's that young, and was that remarkably productive and has that athletic profile. I mean, Okudah basically has like no red flags, and you know, rookie corners are rookie corners, so I don't know that they'll necessarily get better because of him next year, but yeah, I mean, he's a really high-end prospect, and I have a lot of faith that he'll do really well.
The chat is holding, again, your feet to the fire here, and they want to know what round did the Vikings draft Dalvin Cook?
Second.
Okay, no further questions, Your Honor.
Well, they were wrong too. I'm just kidding. I'm not the Vikings. I don't really care. They're gonna pay him like, you know, $13 million. It's gonna be the wrong move.
Right. Arif, question for you. will the winner of the NFC North have a winning record, or is this division just absolute trash?
And now that Aaron Rodgers has fallen off, right? Unless you ask NFL executives, never mind.
We're apparently Madden rating adjusters. Holy moly, what are we doing putting him that high, folks?
I'm good friends with those guys, and I'm going to say nothing about that. But I have had disagreements.
Carson Wentz is rated higher than Matthew Stafford. We're all aflame on Twitter over this.
Well, I mean, you have to understand Matthew Stafford's injury prone.
Okay. Well, it's been nice having you, Arif.
Okay, no. I mean, I'm the biggest Carson Wentz hater out there. The fact that he has the same rating as Dak Prescott's a crime. And one of those guys, the Madden ratings adjusters, one of those guys is a Dallas fan. I thought he would have more appropriately rated Dak Prescott. Anyway, will the NFC North have a winning record? I don't know. The Vikings seem like a 9-win team, maybe 8.5. The Lions seem like a 9-win team. I'm like one of the. I like the Lions as odds to win the division. I don't think they're the most likely to win the division, but from the betting odds perspective, I think they're the best bet. The Bears are awful. I don't know. Might have gotten worse.
They got a lot of tight ends,
and the Packers. If you take a look at the Packers roster individually, really outstanding. I really like the defensive players that they have, but if you can't make Jerry Alexander and Darnell Savage like consistently help your defense to really great heights with the defensive line like that, I don't know how you design a bad defense, but they consistently do it regardless of the defensive coordinator. So I don't know what to do about the Packers. That's the biggest wild card to me. And so that's going to be the biggest determinant about whether or not the NFC North overall has a winning record. I'm going to say yes, just because it just seems more likely than not that they will. But it's going to be tough carrying the Bears as the anchor to that.
All right, I'm going to go off the our podcast outline a little bit here, and I'm going to ask you, what was your favorite move from any team in the NFC North this offseason? Favorite can mean anything. It can be most entertaining. It can be best.
Nick Foles. Done.
Nick Foles. Please explain, because I love talking about this Bears this offseason, and I can't wait until we get a Bears guy on this podcast.
It's the most mind-boggling. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, it makes sense from a very particular perspective, but it's just that obviously the Nick Foles signing for Jacksonville was just catastrophically bad from day one, right? Or from day -2. Like everyone saw it was coming, and they were like, "Please, Jacksonville, don't do it. You don't have to do this." They did it, and then some 5th-round pick with a mustache outplayed him, right? And so. And he's exciting, but he's not that good, right? And it's just well, who could have seen this coming? Well, anybody who's watched his career, right? And I'm speaking as somebody who saw Nick Foles eviscerate the #1 ranked Vikings defense in 2017, just demolish them, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just well, okay, that was pretty good. And that Super Bowl performance was not bad, but on balance, are you going to get that again? No. You win a Super Bowl, that doesn't mean you're going to continue to be good. You regress to your career. Take a look at Joe Flacco, right? So Nick Foles, bad signing, turns out to be a bad signing. They trade him, and the Bears they got a quarterback that his accomplishments and contract is big enough that if he quote unquote wins the competition, you can justify it, right? You can say, look at his resume, he's a Super Bowl MVP or whatever. They've got a statue of him in Philadelphia, which I don't know, the way statues are going, I don't know how long that's going to go, but
great year for statues.
Great year for statues. But in his defense, Philadelphia finally has a statue of an actual athlete. It's Rocky Balboa. It's not a real person. But it's you can kind of justify it, but he's just clearly not good enough that he's going to meaningfully push Mitch Trubisky if Trubisky at all shows any improvement. So the Bears have maneuvered themselves into this I don't know, can I swear on this Twitch stream?
Please do.
They've maneuvered themselves into this clusterfuck. It's not even that big of a swear, but it's just this awful fucking 5D self chess, right? where every move they make is a bad one, only guaranteed to make them worse. And Nick Foles is like the encapsulation of that. The fact that they like, in addition, got Jimmy Graham is just like, it's beautiful, right? Along with like 8 other tight ends. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. The Bears offseason is just like a nice reminder that it could always get worse, right? That you can always screw it up even more. And like, they're not even that, like, they're not pot committed to Trubisky. They don't have to do this. Nagy wasn't the guy who drafted him. They drafted him a year before Nagy. You don't have to own it, but you did. This is where you are. Good luck.
That's
and I think the best part of it too, though, is it happens the same offseason where Patrick Mahomes just gets the biggest contract in sports history.
Right?
He got $500 million at the end of the contract. And he's going to be a minority owner of a team.
and the Bears traded up to draft Mitchell Trubisky because he had the white trait.
Well, yeah,
I'm always reminded of, and I think the Bears do actually have a story like this, but the story I remember and can verify is when the Jaguars drafted Blake Bortles. Gus Bradley was in charge at the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're telling this story of, I think it was at the Combine or maybe some other kind of group event. And Blake Bortles walks into the room and he owns the room with his charisma, and that's when the Jaguars knew. And I was just like, okay, so you just like the guy that's 6'5" and has a nice smile, like that was your cue. And I just feel like that's clearly what happened with Mitch Trubisky. Like, he just like walked into the room and he just felt like a quarterback, and the Bears were like, got it. And then they all got fired. And then the next staff, for some reason, were like, yeah, that was a good evaluation. We'll stick with that.
Well, I want to be fair to the Bears at least a little bit here, because yes, Nick Foles isn't a huge upgrade over Mitch Trubisky, or maybe not even one at all. But was there any other like big name quarterbacks out there available this offseason? Oh yeah, there was about 20. I forgot. Never mind.
Whoops. Phillip Rivers. Whoops.
Tom
Brady. They probably couldn't have made a run at Tom Brady, but it was a remarkable offseason.
It was just an incredible.
And the Bears were like, not only are we going to not sign any of these free agents, any of them, one of whom was on the market for like months. And like Tyrod Taylor would have made sense, honestly, right?
Yeah.
But they're not going to sign any of these guys. Teddy Bridgewater, right? Which would have been so funny, because if he played well, it would have just been like a dagger to the heart of all these Vikings fans, right? Would have been great. None of these quarterbacks, right? They were like, let's give up draft capital to grab a guy whose contract was already bad. We can't even negotiate the terms of his contract, right? God, I can't believe it. Well, I mean, they can't sign like a Trubisky or a Rivers or a whatever, right? Because the whole point of Foles is that you can't make an argument to have to play him. You can just make an argument justify having played him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I got you.
Total sense.
All right, we're running towards the end of the segment too. Before I let you plug your stuff, Arif, I have to ask. The internet was ablaze about 2 weeks ago. And having you on, I have to ask, Stafford or Cousins?
For like what? I'll take Stafford in a grilling contest, a beer chugging contest, a relatable human contest. Okay, now I got to figure out what I'll take Cousins in. Cousins has this remarkable ability to manage everything, and I don't mean that in a football backhanded insult kind of sense.
Yeah.
But like, he's got like an insane amount of financial sense. He's got an insane amount of organizational capability. I'll take him to like Marie Kondo my home. And I'll take him for like the first half of a football game. I think the second half I'm probably taking Stafford though.
Oh, that's a very crowd pleasing answer, I think. All crowds, not just the Lions crowd.
You know, I know my crowd.
All right, Arif, thank you for joining us.
I'll also take Cousins in a durability contest. Boom, roasted.
Dang it! I almost got out of here on a high note.
Almost.
I was gonna plug his Twitter, but now I'm not sure about it. All right, it's Arif Hasan NFL on Twitter. You can see him, all of his content over at The Athletic Minnesota. Is there anything I'm missing, Arif, that you want to plug?
Yeah, I mean, I've got my own podcast, which is like not in the SB Nation network, but it's like loosely affiliated with SB Nation. It's Norse Code. And if you want to hear like my super radical, dumb political opinions, you can also listen to Wide Left Podcast. That's at Wide Left Podcast.
There you go. It's got a sports name. You might think it's a Bears podcast, but it's not.
The Vikings have their own history of kickers going wide left.
Oh, that's true too. Good point. Arif, thanks again for joining us. It was a riot. We're going to have you back again soon, hopefully, to talk about some actual football, but maybe not. Maybe we'll just talk about something else. We don't know.
Yeah, sure. Why not? That was fun.
All right, bud.
Thank you, Arif.
Thanks for joining us. And when we come back, it's mailbag time. We're going to talk a lot about Lions, a lot about the future of the NFL, and a little bit about a new show on Netflix that I'm very excited about. So stick around. We'll be right back on the PODcast. Arif, you're the best, bud. That was so much fun.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I totally didn't realize we were going to be like just roasting the Bears. Fantastic.
I mean, if anyone opens that door, I'm going to walk through it and just pry the doors open for beyond the hinge like I'm Tim Robinson.
Dude, the best part is the Vikings were like 0-8 against the Bears or something. Like they just can't beat them.
Is that true?
They're not actually 0-8.
The Bears
They're
own the
0-2
Vikings?
last year. Week 17 doesn't count because they only played their backups, and their backups actually almost beat the Bears, so it's kind of funny. But they were 0-2 last year, and I don't know, like 1-1 the year before, which that's not great. But everyone thought the Bears were secretly good for some reason. So
fair enough. All right, bud. I think we'll let you go there, unless you want to stick around for the mailbag that has only Lions questions, pretty much.
Yeah, I saw the Lions questions. I was like, oh, I'll dip out.
Yeah, that's fair. Fair. We don't need any more of your backhanded compliments, anyways.
Go eat a smoked watermelon.
What?
Gross.
Okay, no, hold on. I'm not leaving yet. What?
Yeah, that's. Oh my god.
Whoa. Oh man, you have not seen the smoked watermelon on Twitter?
Okay, I have been online all day, every day, for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I thought I've been well educated in internet lore, and no, I've not seen a smoked watermelon.
It was a food meme thing that wasn't eventually turned into a cake. Chat, if you want, I will show it on stream. This thing is a watermelon. It looks like a ham.
Whoa. Okay, but I've seen vegans do this.
Yeah.
Before.
Yes, they are the ones that are up to this again.
Back in
They're
back. Yeah, I saw a
their
non-vegan prepare a smoked watermelon on YouTube, and was like, "Well, this is good. I would not call it a meat substitute, even though it looks like meat." But they said it was good. It's just like not the thing people, which like happens a lot with early iterations of vegan food, and I love a bunch of vegan food. Don't get me wrong, but like most of the early iterations of vegan food are like, don't tell me this is chicken, man. It's fine, but it's not chicken.
Yeah. See, that's kind of the thing with the smoked watermelon, though, is they go to such great length to be like, oh, look, it looks like a ham, or like it has the same like outside texture when we do this like brine to it. And it's like, don't try to trick me into the fact that this is a meat. Like, just call it what it is. Like
pan drippings? What are pan drippings in this context? What?
I don't know.
It's also or Arif, it's also some like hipster marketed bullshit in New York for like $75.
Yeah, that's the worst part about it. Is this goes for $75?
Since it's so labor intensive.
Yes.
Have they smoked anything in their life? Come on.
Yeah,
I guess skinning a watermelon isn't easy. Maybe that's the labor intensive part.
the 5 minutes of skinning a watermelon, that's the part. I mean, look at the thing.
Well, now that my life has gotten measurably
just like
worse,
look at this when it comes out of the oven. Like, who wants to eat this? Jesus Christ, are you kidding me?
Now that my life has gotten measurably worse,
they made it look like meat, and they made it texturally seem kind of like meat when you slice it, and so then they've decided that this is like now the thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
Melon blood? Relax.
Yeah.
Melon blood.
Gross. Get out of here.
All right, Arif, you're the man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. This is fun. Yeah, I'll roast fake food all the time, too. We can do that again sometime.
We'll just talk about fake
Roast
food
fake
and bears
food.
next time.
Yeah, right. See you around, guys.
Later, buddy.
See ya.
Garlic isn't free. I don't think garlic was the expensive part of that meal. How am I going to get this to fit now? We'll do that.
That's what she said.
Okay. Is this who you've become now?
Still running strong.
Let's see. There was one alert that I need to catch up on. Someone extended their sub. Who was it? BL Miller extended through he's already in December with his sub. Thanks for the extension, bud. Appreciate it. By then, we're gonna have some new emotes. In fact, I don't want to overpromise here, but I'm guessing by next week we're gonna have a full slate of new emotes, and I'm very excited about it.
That's exciting.
I kind of did it behind Rob's back. He doesn't even know about it.
I would send you a new picture of Goose to get a new Goose emote, but I haven't seen my dog in 2 weeks.
Oh no, buddy, that's heartbreaking.
Can't be around me with my leg. It's so sad.
Just because he's too hyper and could.
Yeah, he's just too hyper.
Well, spoiler alert: Goose is gonna get turned into an animated.
Yeah.
Yes, I sent some pictures to the artist's way.
That makes me happy.
Yeah, I know that's what I said last week. All right, Joshua. I think it's gonna happen this time though. Ooh, I like that. John's got a really good lion emote. I'm kind of jealous of it. You renewed your sub too? I didn't see it, Lefty. You might have to refresh the stream and hit like something that alerts me. Because I don't think it showed up on my stream, on my alerts. Let me just double check. Nah, I didn't see it. Oh, someone did. Painmaker did request a Zazu cameo. I should reward that. Zazu, are you in bed already? Zazu, come here. Zazu! Hey! What are you doing, bud? You know what I'll do? I'll grab his treats. That'll get him out of here. Where are they? 1 second, chat.
Chat, I can't see you because I don't have you up, but I'm going to keep you company right now.
Where are your treats?
Oh, look, it's Zazu.
Where did I put your treats? Oh, they're under here, aren't they? Come here. Come here.
Oh, Jeremy's got some weights out. He's looking a little buff.
Are you talking to chat? What's happening?
I told chat that I couldn't see because I'm not looking at chat. So then I just started like commenting on what you were doing.
Oh, you're watching the stream? Oh, there he is.
Look at the man.
Zazu had a long day yesterday. We went to downtown Detroit and took a big long walk.
He looks so over your shit right now.
He's always over this. He doesn't. He tolerates me holding him like this, but he obviously doesn't love it. Who would love this? Let's give you a treat.
He should love it.
He should love it. Hold on, buddy. Hold on. Daddy doesn't have.
Whoa, look at that patient boy. What a good patient boy.
Good boy. You want to get some ASMR here? Hold on, let's get the mic real close to you eating this.
Oh, that was some good smacking.
We'll give you one more.
Hey, Zazu, go eat that bag of Stacy's chips on the on the coffee table.
Pita chips? Are you creepy? Yeah. Notice how I left out all these weights just to show how strong I am?
I made that comment.
Oh, you did?
I was like, look at Jeremy getting swole.
There it is, Lefty. Subscribe for 4 months, buddy. Thank you for the sub, buddy. Ooh. I was gonna, I figured out finally how to put sub count on my stream, and I think it's only on my sports show outlay thing. This thing. Yeah, there it is. 63 right in the corner there. Let me put it. This is something I should have absolutely done before the show, but I'm unprofessional, so. Paste to duplicate. Is it there? There it is. 63. Who on the Detroit Lions is number 63? Ready, go.
Logan Stenberg.
Does he have a number?
I don't know. Jonah Jackson.
Not bad bets. If anyone guesses it without looking. Ooh, could be Vaitai. There might not even be a 63,
no, I think
by
Vaitai
the way.
might be in the 70s.
Oh, there is. Oh, he was on the team last year. LJ got it with his second guest.
Who was it?
Bo Benshaw. We do need 6
Oh.
more subs. You're right. Who's going to do it? I was going to gift a sub to someone who got it right, but it took LJ 2 guesses. Andy's already subbed, so nope. Not happening. Uncle and Dingo extends his sub through September, getting him to football season. Fingers crossed. Thanks for the sub, bud. Appreciate you. It's interesting when you do when you extend your sub, it doesn't tell me how many months you've been subscribed, which is unfortunate. Because now I don't know. Can I? Oh, and when I click on you, it says sub for 2 months. There you go. All right, you ready for the mailbag?
Yeah, buddy.
All right, cool. Let me pull up our questions here. Okay. And chat, we might have enough questions. We probably do, but if you have any questions, you can feel free to throw them in. If we don't answer them here, I might be able to answer them after we're done. Sound good? Sound good. Cool. All right, give me a second.
Sounds great.
Mailbag. Hashtag AskPOD. Anytime y'all have any questions, fill up that mailbag. We'll empty it every Monday night. And yeah, just to be clear, during the offseason, we're probably mostly going to do Monday night broadcasts on our Twitch page, twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit. You can watch us live. You can see our pretty faces most of the time. And then, obviously, we'll have a Tuesday morning release where you can see it on prideofdetroit.com in the morning or on your regular podcast places to listen where you're listening right now. And I accidentally just closed out everything. Anyways, it's mailbag time. Let's get to your questions. We're going to start first with Todd Henry Jr. on Twitter. He asked a couple questions. At what point will Jeff Okudah and Amani Oruwariye become the starters this year? Got a feeling Amani Oruwariye is going to take a big step in his development this season, if there is one. And then he also asked, wondering if you guys ever talk about Lions Madden ratings. Let me get to that second one first. Probably not, although Ryan is kind of our in-house Madden expert, or the guy who plays Madden, the one of a couple guys that plays Madden. We don't have many Madden ratings yet. We might touch on it a little bit next week when I imagine most of them are out by then, but is there anything you're actually interested about the Madden ratings this year?
Well, just Madden as a football game is really bad, and they're not doing anything to make it any better, and that's a huge bummer. The coolest thing they did this year is they put Lamar Jackson on the cover. But besides that, I think the Lions are just a really boring team to play with.
Fair.
I mean, Kent has talked about how, the Lions are a team that, as far as his RAS statistics go, like they aren't a team that really values athleticism in the same way that you would value athleticism when you're playing Madden. So they're kind of like a slower team. And to add to that, they don't really have a lot of superstars. I think the only guy who might end up sneaking his way into these top 10 ratings, and it's a long shot at that, would be Trey Flowers.
Maybe.
Like, I think maybe he might sneak his way into the top 10 edge, but
maybe
other than that, I don't know.
Galladay's got a shot. Right?
He's got a puncher's chance, I think.
He just made a Pro Bowl. He just led the league in touchdowns, and we know everyone's obsessed with fantasy stats, so I think there's a chance.
He could lead the league in touchdowns, so maybe that sneaks him into like 10. But
yeah. All right, let's get to his other question about Amani Oruwariye potentially being a starter aside Jeff Okudah. That's not going to happen this year, right? Like, I know Arif was talking down Desmond Trufant a bit, but that seems drastic, does it not? I don't know. I feel like everyone's at least, this is the second week in a row we've answered a question about Amani Oruwariye, and it's become clear to me that Lions fans expect a lot out of a 5th round pick. I don't know, man. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it happen this year. I do think long term those could be their 2 outside starting corners, but this team signed Trufant to a significant deal for 2 years. I think he's going to be around as long as he's healthy, right?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I was going to say. I think the only way that you have a starting defensive backfield with Desmond or with Amani Owarie and Jeff Okudah is if injuries happen.
Right.
I don't really foresee Amani Owarie outplaying Desmond Trufant. I don't see that happening this year, at least, for sure.
Right. Fair enough. All right, let's move on. From our buddy Brett Kuzno, he asks, if the Lions had to change their name, I don't know, if PETA gets rid of all animal mascots or something, what would you want the Lions to be named? But no, you can't. They can't be an animal name.
They can't be an animal name.
I think you have to go with like something local, right? Like something that defines like it doesn't sound good like the Detroit Motowns, like something along those lines. Although Motowns just doesn't work because I don't think you can pluralize Motown.
Yeah.
Don't
I
say
don't think
Coney
you
Dogs.
can.
Don't say Coney Dogs. Don't do it.
I was gonna say Coney pizzas.
Oh God, that abomination.
I don't know. Do you play into like the Motor City some way? Like, I don't know. Like, you have the Red Wings.
The Detroit Cylinders.
The Detroit Engines. The Detroit Carburetors.
Just go fully. I mean, the Fords own the team. Just go the Detroit F-150s. Just do it.
The Detroit Motor Trend Truck of the Year.
Yeah, I don't know. Something like that. Next question comes from Aries at Loaded Aries on Twitter. He asks, is ball control offense more probable with the revamping of the guard position and another addition at running back? Is it also the best option, i.e. the Pats in 2018 and the Chiefs in 2019? I think the answer to your first question is yeah, absolutely. I think that's what the Lions have tried to be for a long time, is to be that team that can just punish you and really grind out games by, stretching out possessions, tiring out defenses. I think that's 100% the goal. Second question is tougher for me. Is it also the best option? I don't think so. I think
I don't think you can say that for a team that has a quarterback like Matthew Stafford.
Right. And it's interesting to me that he listed the Chiefs in 2019 as a ball control offense. I don't know if I would view that. I'd have to look at some of their stats from last year, but I feel like their possessions are probably on the shorter side. Like they're just like deep play, big play, like they've got to be one of the most explosive offenses, and I feel like that's the way to score in this league is big plays. You hear a lot of coaches talk about it too. Like sometimes it's just explosive plays. That's the difference between the game. How many do you give up? How many do you create? And if you create more than you give up, then you probably win the game. And these long drawn out possessions, they require so much perfection. Like one holding penalty can derail one of those entire possessions. Like you could be moving, and then suddenly you're in 2nd and 20 and you're screwed. Like that grinding out 6 yards on the ground at a time doesn't work when you're behind the chains. And it just takes one bad call. It doesn't even have to be a good call. One bad call puts you behind the 8 ball there. And so I don't like the idea of doing it, but that's absolutely what the Lions are trying to do, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they've been trying to do ever since Patricia came to town. It's been all about ball control on both sides, right?
Yeah.
It's been about the run game. And I think when you talk about time of possession and you talk about ball control, that's really predicated on the ground game. So, but I would agree too that I don't think it's the best measure. Like you said, you take a look at a lot of analytics and you take a look at the teams that are the most successful, and it's the ones that have the big time plays, and those usually come by the way of the pass. And if you have Matthew Stafford, why aren't you using more Matthew Stafford?
True. All right, next question comes from Megan Nesbitt, and I'm very excited about this question. She asked, if you were on Supermarket Sweep, what is the big ticket item you would go for? Also, best wishes to Ryan. Supermarket Sweep, the crazy 90s game show, has now returned to Netflix. It's already on Amazon Prime, but now there's, 10 episodes on Netflix? I know you've dipped your toes into it, so maybe you consider yourself a supermarket sweep expert. I know you, myself, and Jerry are all big fans. So what's the big ticket item on your sweep? What's the first thing you're rushing your cart to?
First and foremost, if there is not an NFL season, you can 100% expect a supermarket sweep episode of the podcast.
100%. Through our Twitch page, which is owned by Amazon, they allow you to watch things together. We've watched the Lions documentary that's on Amazon together before. You can watch supermarket sweep episodes together. So if you have any interest in doing that, and if you don't, you should. That's what we're going to be doing in November if there's no football.
Oh, 100%. Now, I don't know if I'm a going to the meats kind of guy. I don't know if I'm going to go straight for those big hams or if I'm going to go to the diaper aisle, because I think what you can do with the diaper aisle is you can get those big packs of diapers, but then you can also get formula, which is really expensive too.
Baby stuff, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a big get.
Yep.
But I'm also a sucker for getting those inflatables. Like, I think that if you get one of those inflatables that ends up being like $200, $250,
true.
Like, that's a huge swing.
That is. I think before I give my answer, I think we can all agree that grinding coffee is the stupidest thing someone can do on their sweep, right?
Oh, grinding coffee or trying to get the candy to weigh between.
I forgot about that.
0.98.
No, don't ever do that, idiots. Come on now.
It's worth $100. Like, why not just grab one of the inflatables? Because I think at like a baseline, they're worth like $50, and that'll take you, 10 seconds?
Right. Now, for my answer, and I feel like this is cheating a bit, because ever since I found out Supermarket Sweep was back on Netflix, I decided to do a little research on the show just because I had forgotten. I wanted to freshen up on my Supermarket Sweep info, and I read an interview with what's the host name? You probably know. No? Dave Ruprecht? That's not it. Is that it? Who's Dave Ruprecht? That sounds like I think it's Dave Ruprecht. I don't know. Whatever his name is, it is Dave Ruprecht. He did an interview and he said the product that everyone forgot about that was always worth the most, and most importantly to me, you talk about the golden hams, you talk about the diapers, those take up a lot of space in your grocery cart. You got to go get a new one after you fill them up with that. Beauty products. Beauty products are expensive and tiny. I'm running down that beauty aisle and I'm just sticking my hand behind every product as it slides into my cart. That's what I'm doing.
That's a really good answer.
Yeah.
That's an educated answer.
That is. I did my research for this podcast. All right.
Also, the one other thing about Supermarket Sweep is that host is incredibly creepy.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
He's way too touchy-feely. Like, his eyes go in places that they shouldn't go. Just watch the Netflix episodes and you'll be like, oh, I don't know why you're hugging her for a little bit too long.
Yeah. Yes. No question. All right. Let's get back into Lions talk. Blake Berry on Twitter asks, if the Lions offense was a Mustang, how many cylinders would it have? We're back to car talk. It has been far too long. Now we've got two car talk references. How many cylinders is this Lions offense?
I don't know. I hate cars. I kind of have
shit. No. Do we have to end car talk because of this?
No, we can keep car talk going. It's just that I really don't like cars now. But I would say that if the Lions offense was a Mustang, how many cylinders would it have? Probably 4.
Come on. What are you, Bill Barnwell? This has got at least 10 cylinders. Come on. All these weapons.
I can't believe that. I can't believe that Barnwell said that the Patriots have more weapons than the Lions.
That was insulting to me. And to be clear, he's not saying they have more. He's saying they have better. And I don't like his methodology because he said the Packers have a better weapons than the Lions, and the reasoning is essentially two people, right? It's Devontae Adams and it's Aaron Jones. Those are two guys that are top 10 at their positions. Therefore, they have a better arsenal of weapons. That's horseshit, first of all, because Kenny Galladay is knocking on the door of top 10. We don't know about DeAndre Swift, but we do know that that Marvin Jones is top 20-ish. We know that Danny Amendola was top 60 in terms of receiving yards last year. We know that TJ Hawkinson's probably going to have a bounce back year or a step up year. It's like the Lions have these list of guys, but because they don't have two guys in their top 10, suddenly they're a bottom 8 team in terms of their weapons. That's insane to me.
Yeah, I'd agree with you.
Good.
But I still think they only have 4 cylinders because no, that doesn't make any sense, Ryan. They have 10 cylinders,
Boom.
but they keep everything in first gear because of Matt Patricia.
Oh no. All right, John Wallace Howell on Twitter asks, if the Lions have a record between 6 and 8 wins, but decide to keep Patricia and Quinn for 2021, will you A, drown your sorrows, B, eat your feelings, C, write an article about how year 4 is finally the year, or D, change the site logo to a dumpster fire with the caption #FireEveryone?
See, before you got to that last thing, I was going to say, is there an E, all the above? Because, I mean, I can see myself doing all 3 of those things.
Yeah, you got to eat your feelings and then wash them down by drowning your sorrows.
Right, and then write an article when I'm starting to feel better.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we have to do in, like, April, right? Right after free agency, we're feeling pretty good, and the draft is still potentially turn out as we want it to. And so, yeah, that's when we write. That's when we dig up the, like, one example in NFL history of the guy who had a losing record in his first 3 years of the NFL and then turned out to be coach of the millennium.
Won a Super Bowl in his 4th year.
Yeah. That's probably what I would do. All right. Just Plain Bill at Vince Law on Twitter asks, what are realistic expectations for the offensive line? Kind of a vague question, but what do you, let's frame it this way. If you had to put them, like, if you were to just give them a baseline performance, what level, like how high, what ranking amongst the NFL would you expect the Lions to finish at, whether it's PFF grade or whatever metric you want to use?
Yeah, whether it's PFF or it's DVOA or something like that.
Right.
I would say that for the offensive line, if this team is going to be successful, you probably want them somewhere in the like 12 to 16 range, right?
Yeah.
Like you want them to be like middle of the league or maybe a little bit above average. But I think truthfully they're probably somewhere between like 14 and 20.
That I hate to say that sounds even a little optimistic to me, but it kind of does. I think part of the issue I'm having is I just don't know what the Lions' plan is yet, right? I mean, we know who their left tackle is going to be.
We don't know what the line looks like, right? We don't know what it looks like.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, by now, we would at least have an idea with OTAs and minicamp of what their expectations, like where Jonah Jackson is going to play, where Logan Stenberg is going to play, whether Kenny Wiggins or Joe Dahl are going to be starters. Those guard positions, we have no idea what they're going to look like, so it's hard for me to really give an expectation, but I mean, I'm not very excited about Halapuli Vaitai at right tackle. I'm definitely excited about Frank Ragnow, and I'm confident in Taylor Decker, but everything else is a big question mark. So, I mean, if they hit 12 on the high end of your spectrum, I'd be ecstatic. I'm more really expecting 18 to 22-ish, like bottom third maybe.
Bottom third maybe, yeah. And if they're bottom third, then I think they're in big trouble.
They could be. All right, last question comes from Anonymous Lions fan on Twitter. He asks, #AskPOD, can y'all hit us with the Tua Talk theme song one last time for old time's sake?
Let's ride out.
I can't say no to that. Let's hit it. Tua. That's the Tua Talk theme song. And that's it for the POD cast, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We will be back next Monday, maybe with a Bears guest so we can laugh at them. Maybe we'll start talking about training camp. We'll have to see how our schedules align with potential Bears guests. But until then, it's chaos. Be kind. We'll see you next week. Call recording off.
Oh, man, I'm so glad that it was on in the first place.
Oh, God, that theme is so good.
It is good. It's so good that I had to turn on the stream on my phone so that I could hear it. I muted my mic.
Let's see. I need to catch up to alerts because right at the beginning of that segment, we got a 5 gifted sub bomb from Uncle and Dingo. And then he also, then BL Miller gifted a sub to Manuel Chavez, who asked for a sub. Bad Twitch etiquette, but it paid off this time, so be thankful, bud. Appreciate that. I thought that was going to get us to the sub number we were all seeking because it was at 63, and those are 6 gifted subs. But it's sitting there taunting me at 68 right now, and I don't know why. Maybe we lost a sub in that time. I don't know how that works.
That's not very nice.
It's not. It's almost nice, but it's not quite nice. But appreciate you, chat. I think there was a question in here that I didn't get to see because it got pushed down because of all those alerts. So let me see if I can find it. What happened? Where is it? Oh, LJ Bureau asked, when does training camp start and will it actually start? It's supposed to start on the 28th, I believe. I think that's the plan, which is literally 2 weeks from tomorrow. I saw that 2 teams, rookies, are supposed to report this week in a couple days. Schefter tweeted out something like that, but the team doesn't know whether they're going to report because they still haven't technically, I think, opened up facilities for players. Like, that still hasn't happened. And so, yeah, the Chiefs and the Texans are scheduled to report to camp. Rookies are supposed to report to camp on Saturday. All players must take a COVID-19 test 48 hours in advance. Yet there's been no clearance yet from the NFL and both teams, like the 30 other that are awaiting word for league about how to proceed per sources. So, like, they're running out of time to figure out things. Like, no, regular training camp is supposed to start on the 28th for everybody. 2 weeks. And so and the crazy thing about it was there was that recommendation from the NFLPA medical director or someone in the medical profession said, listen, last time there was a shortened off season, we saw a bunch of injuries. And so I'm recommending the ramp up period, the training camp period, get extended to 48 days instead of its normal, 30 or so, so that they can be fully ready for the regular season. Well, if they want to be ready for the regular season, they have to start training camp about today to be ready. 48 days is about how much there is until the start of the regular season at this point. So do I think training camp starts on time? Maybe. Do I think the regular season starts on time? No, I don't. Do you feel any differently, Ryan?
No, I'm so pessimistic about a season. I think I'm just in the camp right now that thinks that football will not happen on time because you're gonna see some disastrous things happen with the MLB and the NBA and the NHL. I think the NHL maybe not so much, just because they're gonna be they're playing in a country that has the virus under control.
Yeah.
But the MLB and the NBA, yeah.
With all these, they're still not going to be adhering to social distancing and mask wearing indoors, and like, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I was discussing this on our sports talk show stream thingy with John Blevins. I feel like baseball probably has the best shot because there is kind of the social distancing there. Then followed by basketball because at least they're in a bubble. But as we already saw and talked about, they may not adhere to that bubble as much as everyone is hoping. But yeah, I just don't see how it works out for football. I mean, and that joke of a rule that they're not going to allow handshakes and they're not going to allow jersey swaps just, to me, shows how far off the NFL is to thinking relevantly, thinking rationally about this whole thing. Doesn't make any sense.
It just seemed like an opportunity for the NFL to do away with something that they wanted to do away with, which...
Was that worth it? Was it worth it to look like an idiot for 24 hours on Twitter to get rid of a harmless tradition that causes your equipment manager to make more jerseys? I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe.
They did the math on it, obviously, and decided to do it.
Yeah.
One hour pod. You out?
Yeah, I'm going to head out of here.
Everyone say goodbye to Ryan and say it was nice to see you, Ryan.
Well, it was definitely nice for me to put my voice on here. So
yes.
Can't wait to come back next week.
Yeah. Maybe we'll see your face and maybe you'll show us that big old scar you got. Or I guess we probably can't because there's a big old cast on it, huh?
I actually don't have a cast on it. I just have a wrap and then I have a walking boot.
Really?
Yeah. I don't have a cast because they put a metal rod that runs from my ankle to my knee, and then I also have a plate that has 4 screws in it.
Ooh, are those like permanently in there? Is that how that works?
Yeah.
Whoa, you're the bionic man now, dude.
I finally get to live my dream of being RoboCop
and getting stopped in airport security. Enjoy that.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that'll be awesome.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put that on you.
We should have renamed them the Detroit RoboCops.
Oh my god! Damn it, we should be the RoboCops. Son of a bitch. Can we get the recorder back up? Just record. We have to redo the entire mailbag now.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get out of here.
All right,
awesome
bud.
Being back here. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming on, bud. Appreciate you. All right, let's kick him. All right, I'll stick around for a little bit longer. Let's make me big. Ready? Oh god, that's too big. All right, where were we, chat? Did they get clarity on that? The jersey swap is stupid, but if it's sweaty, I kind of get it. If you had players that don't play on the sidelines want to swap, they shouldn't. I guess. To me, my issue of it has always been that if you're admitting that a jersey swap isn't safe and unsalvageable, like you can't come up with a way to do a jersey swap at the end of the game that's safe, what hope do we have for a game of football being safe? Like they're waiting on the actual game of football where you're touching and spitting and sweating all over everybody, but they've decided right now that there's no way they can save that tradition. Just dub in the word RoboCop. We should have. Damn it. We're just going to have to live with whatever we said. What did we say? I don't even remember. Some car stuff, right? That's it. In this view, has it moved to 69 yet? No, it's still 68. Damn it. Sorry. The Detroit Cylinders. What is the ceiling you could see with the cornerback room and for next year as well? I have extremely high hopes with our young talent at cornerback. Ceiling this year is potentially knocking on top 10. I'm expecting more of an average performance. I'm not as down on Trufant as Arif was. I think Trufant will be an average starter, so like among number one corners, I would probably put him in like 16 to 20. So he's obviously not a top 10 guy, but he's not that far removed from being a really good cornerback. It's just injuries and age. And he even before his injury last year, he had, I think, a career high 4 interceptions or something. I don't think he's a fantastic prospect. And even though he started out his career hotter than Slay, he's not as good as a cornerback as Slay. And that's even taking account Slay's bad year last year. In terms of like Okuda expectations for his rookie year, not expecting, defensive rookie of the year. I'm not expecting, like a Lattimore type season where he's amazing, but I think by the season's end, you're going to be like, oh, this guy's going to be good. And so put that all together. Who knows what Justin Coleman the Lions are going to get, and maybe J-Ron Curse is going to play a little nickel corner based on what Arif said. It's not really something I had considered much. And maybe that's the guy that's pushing Jamal Agnew off the roster, to be honest. Like, maybe that's why Jamal Agnew is getting moved to offense, is because they're like, listen, we got two guys that can play nickel corner. We don't need you anymore on defense. And I'm not saying Jamal Agnew's off the roster. I'm just saying that's what's pushing the position change and pushing him to have to contribute more to justify a roster spot. I'm not sure if I did see it, Joshua. If you want to throw it in here again, I will read it again. LJS. Okay, you keep saying it's annoying. You keep saying it was a 5th round, but everyone was pumped because they were expecting him before then. When does the narrative change? Like Richard Sherman wasn't 1st round. Do we wait? Do it in the? I mean, we have to see. I just have to see something out of him. I have to see something on field that tells me 32 NFL teams were wrong about this guy for not taking him in day 2, like all of the scouts, the media scouts thought. And O'Rourke had an okay rookie season. I wouldn't say it was good. I wouldn't say it was bad. I would just say it's okay. I mean, he had a couple picks, which is great. He also got burned really badly a couple times last year. And so, I don't know. I think you just had... Before I'm going to give him credit for being anything other than a 5th round pick, he has to show me that he deserves anything more than credit for being a 5th round pick. Because I don't put that much... I don't put that much validity in media reports, media scouts, media draft. Like I lean on him during draft season because I don't have the time or the will to go through 200 draft prospects myself. But when it comes to how the draft actually plays out, I immediately defer to professionals, and professionals decided that Manny Oruwariye wasn't good enough to be drafted in the first 4 rounds. That's it. And so I'm going to defer to them for now. Okay, Joshua asks, I'm currently on the 5th season of Community, and I've already asked about favorite episodes, so now tell me, what's your least favorite episode? The puppet one, the puppet hot air balloon one was pretty dumb. That was one of the gas leak episodes. That one just, I don't know. No, I don't. It seems like a dumb way to try to get into one of those theme episodes. That's the first one that jumps out of my head. I don't know if that's it or not. I just remember when I went through them all recently. I'm just like, yeah, I can see why now Dan Harmon hated the 4th season. Like, this episode is ridiculous and dumb. I'll get you my top list of Community episodes at some point. I'll probably do it in a written Ask POD. Could you see Oruwariye and Okudah being locked down within the next few years? I could see Okudah being locked down. I'm sorry. I'm not riding the Oruwariye hype wave like everyone else is right now. I think he could be a good number 2. Lockdown is asking a bit much, though. We'll see. I know everyone wants him to be amazing, but I need evidence. Anything else you guys got? It's running around 10 o'clock here. I got a little bit to write about before I go to bed, so don't mind cutting things short a little bit here. And maybe before I see any other questions, I'll see if there's anyone I want to host. Because I always forget at the end to host somebody. Who's streaming right now? Anyone I like or know? Dang. None of my good friends. Nope. I don't think we're going to host tonight, so I'll answer a couple more questions. If you got them. Oh no, I mean you're fair to say I shouldn't. I mean, I'm not slamming O'Rourke. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying before I crown him as a potential starter in a lockdown corner, I need to see proof of it. That's it. He could come out this year and be great. I'm just not predicting it. Want to running back talk, but it's the same thing. Don't draft him in the second round. Yeah, we did need a running back. I won't shy away from that. I don't know. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm already starting to push back on that even a little bit because, like, I know this coaching staff probably hasn't been thrilled with Kerryon through 2 seasons, and they certainly needed a guy to back up in case of an injury. But Ty Johnson got some extra snaps toward the end of the season and did okay. Bo Scarborough obviously came in and did an adequate job. They weren't hurting at the running back position, and so I would have been fine for just like a guy that could come in and potentially, push Kerryon as a, like, they got DeAndre Swift as the 1A to Kerryon's 1B. I would have been fine with Kerryon being the 1A and then getting someone in the 4th round to be 1B. And so they went the more aggro route, and I don't think that's a good allocation of draft capital. You're at 7K, 7.8, so you can get to 8K. What's at 8K? Oh, I haven't worn the shirt in like 3 broadcasts. Someone said they were going to make me do it every broadcast. Now I've gotten through 3. And Uncle, you don't want to waste it now, right? It would be a waste to do it right now because I'm going to get off in the next 5 minutes or so. So, I mean, if someone wants to waste their 8,000 channel points to make me put on the shirt, it's literally right here. But that seems like it would be a waste. Has anyone done a Tracy Walker profile, him on the field versus off it? I saw a huge difference. You saw a huge difference off the field, you mean? Because, yeah, I can attest to that firsthand. I mean, year 1 and year 2 was night and day. He was so reserved and so, I don't want to say in over his head, but like, you could sense him kind of like marveling being in the NFL his rookie season. Then last year took a leadership role. You can even see him on social media being like more open. Like, he was live streaming his gender reveal party for his kid. His attitude with the media was just like so much more, I don't know. There was just like a sense of confidence that I certainly didn't see off the field in 2018. So if that's what you're talking about, yeah. Off the field due to injury? Oh. With him off the field and I see what you're saying. So how the defense played with him on the field versus how they played when he was not on the field. Now I get you. No, I haven't really looked into that. That's kind of an interesting thing. Maybe that's something I can look into a little deeper. Obviously not having a ton of things to write about these days, so kind of looking into a stat dive like that might be interesting. Maybe I don't know if I'm gonna. I feel like maybe we'll do a gaming stream sometime this week. We'll definitely be doing more gaming streams if it looks like the NFL season isn't gonna happen. But yeah, that the off the field stuff is definitely interesting to me. And was he named captain last year? Because if not, I really wouldn't be surprised if he is this year. 2019 Detroit Lions captains. No, he wasn't. So yeah, I mean, and this is funny. I'm looking through their defensive captains, and they're all gone. Devon Kennard, Jared Davis, Quandre Diggs were the 3 defensive captains last year. And so, I mean, if you had to guess, let's name the three defensive captains you think they're going to be next year. Trey Flowers, who also kind of a quieter guy who I've seen, at least this offseason, speak out a little more. It might. Do you think Jared Davis is still going to be a team captain? I was thinking Jamie Collins potentially too. But I think Tracy Walker has to be the DB, right? Like he's the DB captain now. Ooh, it could be Harmon. It could be Duron Harmon. He comes in one season though. Ooh. This is, you know what? This is a really good Ask POD question. Maybe I'll ask it next week. Let's name who we think are going to be the 7 captains. They had 7 last year. There's no guarantee they have 7 again this year. But 3 offense, 3 defense, 1 special team. If I had to guess right now, this will be I would go Flowers. I think they're going to Flowers, Davis, and Tracy Walker. Those are my 3. I think they're going to stick with Davis. He's everything they want in a captain in terms of like leadership. Now play on the field, I don't know. I mean, I'm not with the people that think he might get cut this season. That I don't think that's going to happen. Davis, yeah, it's listen, you have to understand that yes, while talent is a big part of becoming a captain, I think personality is bigger. I mean, you think about Darius Slay. I don't think Darius Slay was ever captain. And it's not because he was a bad leader, but it's just like he was the goofball. He was the class clown. He wasn't the valedictorian. He's the class clown who was also happened to play really well at football. That's a poorly stated sentence, but you know what I'm saying. Like, it's not always just the best players. And so Jared Davis, I think, is in terms of personality, I think he might stick around as a captain. Tavai, I don't know. Tavai would have to take a big step in. He would have to take like a Tracy Walker step in the locker room. Exactly. Davis has good work ethic and attitude. That's exactly what I'm saying, Uncle. That's a good question though. Chet, you're gonna have to remind me next week to use that as a SPOD question. Who do you think the 7 captains are gonna be? Do you guys? Let me test you, chat. Can you name the 3 guys that were offensive captains last year? Davis was last year. The 3 defensive captains defensively were Jared Davis, Devon Kennard, and Quandre Diggs. All 3 are gone, which is why I think it's an interesting question whether someone like Tracy Walker could become a captain. But let me see, chat, the 9 of you that are still here, how many of you think you can name all 3 offensive captains from last year? Sorry, you guys are seeing my Discord chat. Stafford is correct. Decker is correct. Who's that number 3? It was Stafford and Deckard last year. It was not Galladay. It was not Rick Wagner. It was not Kenny Galladay. It was not Marvin Jones either. Nope. And this is where the personality really plays in here. It was all about personality. It wasn't carry on. Yeah, I'm seeing if you guys could guess. Next week on the podcast, we'll talk about who we think are going to be the captains, but right now I'm just quizzing you guys on who was it. And LJ got it. It was Danny Amendola. Ragnow's a good one for next year. But yeah, it was Decker, Stafford, and Amendola last year. And so I think that's a really good argument for it potentially being Duron Harmon this year. Is just like a guy they brought in from that Patriot system that's a hard worker. I mean, it's the same thing with Jamie Collins. But yeah, it was Amendola last year. And then Don Muhlbach was the special teams guy. I'm not going to let you guys guess that one. Do you guys want to keep doing this and go back to 2018 captains? Do you think you could name the 2018 captains? Let's do it. There were 7. There were 7 captains in 2018. And let me see. 3 offense, 3 defense again. And special teams. I'll just give you. Don Muhlbach is like the bingo center square. What happened to the screen? Oh, crap. There we go. All right. Let's start with the offense since we already got some guesses. Stop jumping up here. Start of the season. Who were the announced captains on September 8th, 2018? Offense. So we already have Stafford. Stafford is also the center square. Tate was not a captain. Oh, you know what? Joshua Mercer just swept. It was Stafford, it was Marvin Jones, and TJ Lang. That's correct. You know what, Josh? I'm feeling in a good mood right now. That was so impressive. Hopefully you didn't look it up. But if you did, whatever. You got me. There you go, bud. Since that was so impressive, I just gifted you a sub. Hopefully it's going to show up. There it is. Well done. Well done. And hopefully that also gets us to our goal. Yeah. Stafford, Marvin Jones Jr., and TJ Lang. Hold on. Let's see. Oh, no! What? It's at 70. No! Son of a bitch. That counter is... That's so disappointing, chat. I blew it. How did that happen? Knew I should have looked. Dang it. Oh, well. All right, defense. Who were the defensive captains in 2018? Davis is correct. Diggs, not correct. Oh, stupid. Quandre Diggs was not a captain, but Glover Quinn was, LJ. So we got Davis, we got Glover Quinn, and who's number 3? Oh, Joshua got it again. Kennard is the 3rd. Josh, I'm starting to think you cheated, which I'm going to let slide this time. But also, I have no way I can't take the sub away from you, and nor would I. You know what? Do we want to go back one more? The problem is if we go actually we can't go back one more because then we're in Caldwell era and he changed it every week. I'll make sure that's true, but I'm pretty sure that's true. Detroit Lions captains. Yeah, no, he did it every week. We could do the week 1 captains if you want. I'm just kidding, Joshua. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Just to die hard. All right, we'll do one more here. We'll do the week 1 2017 captains for the Detroit Lions. It was against the Cardinals, if that helps. I don't know why it would help. Oh, and you know what? There's only one for each. There's 1 offense, 1 defense, 1 special teamer. So wait, that can't be true. Wait, hold on. Oh, it is true. Because this slideshow has 1 for every week. All right. Who was the 1 offense, 1 defense, 1 special team? This time, I'm not giving you special teams, so that's maybe a hint. GQ and Stafford are correct. Who is the special teamer, though? It's not Don Muhlbach. Shocker. Not Sam Martin. Not Matt Prater. Who's left, chat? Who's left? It's not the punter, it's not the kicker, and it's not the long snapper. Who's it going to be? Who else is there on special teams? Stumped you guys. Dig deep, guys. I know you can do this. Don't cheat, but dig deep. Who was the standout on our special teams unit? No, not backup quarterback. Think about standouts on special teams in Detroit Lions history. Who's the old gunner guy? I'm going to need a name here. He wrote a book. That's my hint. He wrote a book. Come on, chat. I know you can do this. Come on. I don't want to give you any more hints about his name. You know what we were talking about though, right? He lost me now. Lions wrote a book. It's a player who wrote a book. It was about success. It was like he tore his ACL. Did he tear his ACL? I don't know if he tore his ACL. Did anyone get it yet? Come on. No. He didn't tear his ACL doing the discount. You're still thinking of, was it Stephen Tulloch? So the name of his book is It's Not Because I'm Better Than You. And it focuses on how his hard work paid off. Whoops. You don't need to see my Discord. You can picture what he looks like. What if I pulled up a picture and just showed his picture? How do I just get this so you only see the picture? That's what he looks like. That's what he looks like, chat. Come on, guys. Do I have to give initials? I can give initials, but I really don't want to. You want me to put a helmet on him? Right, let me see if I can get a picture of him with his helmet that doesn't have his name anywhere. All right, here's his. Oh no, that's gonna have the. Can I clear? No, hold on. Copy image address. Now just get rid of the URL because that has his name in there. No, wait, it says it up there. No. 26. He was number 26. It's not Agnew. Hey, what's up, Loaded? Stream was good. We just finished the POD cast. You can either rewatch it on VOD when we're done, or you can listen to it tomorrow, hopefully. Chat is currently trying to figure out who was the 2017 special teams captain, and I'm not letting them off the hook. I need them to figure it out on their own, because it was not Martin, it was not Prater, and it was not Whitehead. This guy was pretty much only played special teams throughout his entire career. He was a safety, but he never played defense. Or very rarely. His middle name was Juan. Maybe that'll help. Creating one of the best full names of a Detroit Lions player in recent history. Oh, chat, you're disappointing me right now. If I had asked this in the middle of the stream when we had like 20 viewers, I think someone would have gotten it. What other clue can I give you? He wrote a book. Let's look at his Wikipedia, see if there's any interesting facts. He played with the Jaguars for a little bit after the Lions didn't decide to re-sign him. Yep, there you go. Yeah, Uncle knows everything about him except for his name. He left Detroit towards the end of his career. Then the Lions re-signed him, only to release him 3 days later. Fans were not happy when they released him or didn't re-sign him after the 2017 season because he was so good in special teams. Jaguars, not Raiders. I think you're thinking of DJ. No, DJ Hayden came from the Raiders. I don't know. Rashawn Melvin, maybe. Not Rashean Mathis. Nope. This guy, like I said, didn't play a lot of defense. Almost none. Special teams only. All right. I think I'm going to have to give initials, chat. This guy's initials was DC. Come on, chat. I believe in you. Special teams captain of 2017 Week 1, Don Carey from Loaded Aries. Finally got it. Don Carey is the man. Your Week 1 special teams captain in 2017. Good old Don Carey. Good dude. A Lions legend in his own. Probably won't go in the Ring of Honor or anything, but man, I mean, he lasted 7 years on the Lions, 2011 to 2017, and pretty much solely as a special teamer. Kind of impressive. He saw some real bad Lions teams in that stretch. Poor guy. Actually, you know what? Not that bad. He saw the beginning. Actually, you know what? I'm completely wrong. 2011 to 2017 is probably the best stretch of Lions football we've seen since the early 90s. That is the saddest sentence I may have ever said on the stream. Jeez. All right. Enough games, chat. I got to do some work. Y'all got to get some sleep. Like I said, we'll probably do a video game stream sometime this week. Tomorrow we're doing the sports show with John Blevins right here on the Pride of Detroit Twitch channel, which is really fun. If you haven't been a part of that yet, we're going to be doing it at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We do call-ins, so we get on our Discord. Not my Discord. We go on John's Discord, which is Bearded Discord. If you're not part of his Discord, you should join now. You can join into his Discord, and then we'll bring you live on the show, like a video of our show, because we do video through Discord. And you can ask questions. Miss Ruby, I'm just closing up shop here. Oh, thanks for stopping by, though. I'll have to catch you tomorrow. I was just talking about my stream with John tomorrow at 8:30. Hopefully, we'll see you then. But yeah, if you guys don't know Miss Ruby, she's the best. I just caught her stream. She cooks and stuff and is generally fun to listen to with her husband Luis and all of her fun little kids. Yeah, there we go. But yeah, she's also been a big part of our sports show chat. She's asked a question. Did you ask one last week or just week 1? I don't remember. Either way, yeah, no, we're ending this. And normally, Miss Ruby, your stream doesn't look this bad, but when I go solo, like we have nice little outlays when there's 3 guests and 4 guests and 5 and video games and stuff like that. But yeah, just kind of have a janky one person. The link provided is broken? Is it really? Dang it. It shouldn't be broken. Maybe it is. I don't know. Go check out Oh My God's stream. She's funny and a Lions fan. Ooh, I'll have to do that. Let me save that. Are they live right now? If so, I'll just do kind of a blind raid if you want. Oh my God. Oh, they're not live. Sad. Ruby, I was going to raid you if you were still live. You only knew one sports ball question. You'll have to ask a friend to ask a question for. But yeah, you have to have Discord downloaded. That might be the issue. Jeremy, what do you think about switching from loaded beans to loaded? Oh, you're loaded beans. I didn't even notice. I'm a bad streamer. I'm sorry. What's the significance behind Aries? Are you an Aries, even though that's not how you spell Aries? I'm an Aries. Big Sweet Sweet is live right now? I didn't see that. He must be down. I feel bad because last time I hosted him, he went on a long political rant, and I don't think he necessarily realized that I had brought in a stream full of people. Oh, yours is your middle name. Nice. Is that how you pronounce it? Is it Ares or Aries or Arez? I want to make sure I'm pronouncing it right in the future. Because you're obviously an OG too. You've been hanging around for a while. You do have a Discord? I wonder if let me try to get you a different link. Invite people. Copy. Try this one. That might literally be the same link. Aris. Cool. Loaded Aris. Aris. Okay. Ares. I'll try to get it right. It might take me a while. I'm bad with names. Trying to get better with pronunciation. Like Halapuli Vati Vaitai became very easy because if you read my name bracket posts, you can say Halapuli Vati Vaitai's name to the song Play That Funky Music White Boy, and it works perfectly. And now I don't ever pronounce his name wrong. Halapuli Vati Vaitai. That's all it takes. Now you know how to say his name forever. That's my gift to you, chat. As we exit, thank you everybody for hanging around. Thank you for all the questions. Pronouncing the job, yes, of people's names is kind of my job. You're not wrong. But anyways, thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow 8:30 Eastern time to do our normal talk show with John Blevins, where we're going to talk about all sports, not just Lions stuff. We'll probably talk a little Lions stuff too, but imagine we'll probably talk a lot of COVID stuff. We'll talk about maybe some NBA bubble stuff. We haven't really worked out our full outline yet, but it'll be fun. And please bring your questions. I'd love to see some of Pride of Detroit's chat over in John's Discord. I'd love to see some of you guys up here on the screen reaching out to everybody, because I've seen some of you guys on some of our other stuff that we do, some video game streams, some karaoke streams. I want to see you part of our sports streams as well. So be sure to join us. If you haven't already, make sure you're followed so that you get notifications when we go live. And that's all I got, y'all. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.